And welcome back to a special edition of Cape Ann Today. We're actually on location, Heather.
It's so beautiful. This is such a beautiful location. Say where.
This is great. We're at Ripple on the Water, 74 Main Street in Essex. I am your host, Kory, alongside, as always, my co-host, Heather Atwood.
Yes, and our other co-hosts, all the ducks out there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there are not so many there. There were a ton of them before.
They're sleeping over here in the shed. So it's beautiful. So anyway, it's been a long time since we've been out on location somewhere, and we picked an absolutely gorgeous day to do this. We're right here on the Essex River. If you're not familiar with Ripple on the Water, it's where Periwinkles used to be, or where the new
Ripple on the Water.
The new temporary bridge is also been built too.
Yeah,
you go right to the bridge's beginning or end.
Right next to the Essex Shipbuilding Museum.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a great list of guests for us today, but first and foremost, we want you to meet the owners of Ripple on the Water. They are Tom and Michelle Riordan. And how are you? Hello, hello, hello.
Good, guys. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for being here with us today.
No, thanks for coming.
Yeah. So I guess for those who don't know, aren't familiar with Ripple on the Water, or for those watching from out of town, give us sort of the A to Z on what people can experience when they come to Ripple.
Well, we're right on the river here in Essex, and we've got a lot of New England style food, but then a lot of stuff with a little bit of twist on it. We do shrimp and grits. We do a poke bowl, which we've got kind of sitting out here in front of us.
Yeah, which is really hard to get through the show and not
you can eat it. It's all fresh,
really hard.
So it's good to go. And we like to put a little bit of twist on New England fare and that kind of stuff. So my wife bakes, Michelle bakes all the desserts. So they're all everything is all made in house here. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to say right off the top too, the location is unbelievable.
We are at a table, basically.
Yeah,
right?
really.
Yeah,
we're on the deck here.
So this is what you get.
Yeah. Indoor and outdoor seating. So tell us what went into the decision to get to this property. Like, what was so appealing about it to you both?
We looked for a long time to try and find a restaurant. So we moved back up to Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts. Michelle's from Texas. We moved back up to Massachusetts I was working in Annapolis, and we moved back up here and started looking for restaurants. We looked for restaurants in just all over the North Shore area, and then we came across this place and said, all right, it's on the water, it's gorgeous, Essex is a great town.
Location.
And we said, okay, let's try and get this place. So we got this place, we renovated,
and then something bad happened.
Something bad happened. I got sick. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks.
I didn't know that. I was thinking of COVID.
Yeah,
Didn't you open just before COVID?
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry,
we're just getting
you're
started,
sick.
Heather.
Yeah, right. Whoa. Oh my gosh.
Cue the violins.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. We got sick. We closed the restaurant, and then COVID happened.
Oh my gosh.
We were planning on reopening of April of 2020, and then COVID, and so we decided to stay shut a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So we opened in 2018. We were open for 6 months. We closed. And then we reopened in June of 2021. So we've had the place open since 2018, but we've only been open for about a year and a half.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So we just kind of celebrated our year being open in June.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is that? This is your first restaurant as a couple
that we've opened.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Yeah. So
it's
how?
going to be our only restaurant. The restaurants are a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. So I would like to know, like, how do you serve lobster? Because people are coming here for seafood, right?
I got to be honest, we don't have lobster.
You don't have lobster on the menu?
Don't have lobster on the menu right now.
Well, that's
lobster's
all right.
coming down. No, lobster's coming down, but I was looking at numbers from when we were open before. Lobster was $20 a pound back in 2019. Last year it got up to 50 and change.
Yeah.
Now it's down about 38.
Yeah.
I think it's still kind of expensive. We don't do enough lobster business that I can justify it right now. But we'll start probably putting some lobster on the menu as the summer keeps on going.
Yeah. When you start seeing lobster rolls north of $40 all over the place.
I know everybody. I love lobster rolls. I
love lobster rolls.
I feel bad. It almost sounds like you're gouging somebody for lobster when it's that much money. I feel bad charging somebody that much money for lobster rolls.
So what do you love to prepare in your kitchen?
I like to try different things. So we've got. I love our fried Essex clams. I mean, I think we've got some of the best clams on the strip here. They're tasty, but we just like to mix stuff up. We've got a lot of. I like doing some Asian influence stuff right now. It's kind of big. That's why I love this poke bowl. It's refreshing. We've got a great a new farro salad that we've got online that we just put in. It's this farro with a shallot vinaigrette that we make, crispy shallots, arugula, tomatoes, cucumbers, feta, and candied pecans.
That is my kind of salad.
It's
Yeah, I love
You can add
things
some
like that.
protein to it too if you want. But
Yeah.
it's a great little salad. And, we like trying some different things and just mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're not going to get farro in a lot of places around here, and I love farro.
Farro's a good, it's a
Oh,
nice grain.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And Michelle does an amazing job baking the desserts because I've been here several times and I make a point, no matter how early in the day it is, to get a dessert or two.
Nice, nice.
Your background, Michelle, and where the love of baking came from.
I've always loved to bake. That was always my thing. And I went to Johnson & Wales and I got an associate's in pastry. And I've worked in a couple of restaurants baking. And then when Tom said he wanted to own a restaurant, I was like, yes, because then I get to bake. And I bake what I want to bake. You know, when I'm working for somebody else, I always bake what they wanted me to bake. And so I love having the freedom of doing whatever I want to do. And I do. I play with the menu. I do different things. I like to, the key lime is one thing I always have on the menu. But my other desserts, I kind of like to switch up and play around with.
Yeah,
and
I had that.
whenever I'm in the
Was it Hummingbird Cake?
The hummingbird.
I
yes.
love
That
hummingbird
was awesome.
cake. It has pineapple and coconut in it.
Oh,
is
you
that
know
right?
exactly what it is.
I do.
Oh, Heather knows.
I
Heather
know,
knows.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a-
you
it's a-
describe it though.
It's a banana, pineapple, and pecan cake with cream cheese frosting, and then I put candied pecans on the outside.
That's because you're from the south,
It is
right?
from, yes.
It's a southern thing.
It is a very southern thing.
It's so good though. We need to bring it up here. You need to put it on the map here.
I make it, but the only time I don't have it on the menu is in the summer because my kitchen gets way too hot for cream cheese frosting. I tried it last year,
melts all
and
over the place.
when the kitchen's 95 degrees, my cream cheese ice just melts.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's in every other season but summer.
Yeah, great,
But
great.
it's amazing. It's my favorite.
Oh, it's awesome.
Any other southern influenced dishes, desserts you have in here? Because that's the place to go in America for dessert.
I don't think so. I do a lot of like cobblers and crumbles and stuff
Oh,
like
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Right now I have a blueberry crumble. But yeah.
Yeah, but it's a great summer dish in New England.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
A nice dollop of ice cream on top of it.
Yeah,
It's-
that's
it's
perfect.
tasty.
Well, you know what's cool about Ripple too? It's like you can't beat this location, right? You're right on the Essex River, right at the town landing. You've got the boatyards behind us, the shipbuilding museums behind us. You have the marina next door. You can see the river come in and out as you're dining, which is awesome. But also, like inside is beautiful too. They have an awesome bar inside. The dining room right here is a gorgeous spot for year round. You can
We're
enjoy
coming,
the
Kory.
views
We're
there
coming.
too. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't beat the real estate here too. So, all right. So, what do you want folks to know who haven't been here before? Like what they're missing out on, or what's the draw? It's you put your own twist on things.
You know, we're a family restaurant, and it's a small place where we've got a great little staff, and I emphasize little staff because it's been tough finding staff. Right now we're open Tuesdays through Saturdays. We just started open Saturdays, so Tuesday through Saturday, 11:30 to 9. And our menu's online at ripplerestaurant.com. You can check it out. And apart from the menu that we have, we run specials constantly. So we have a whole bunch of specials that we're running to make sure that we can get fresh product. So our specials menu is stuff that has a tough time going in and out of season, or it disappears sometimes, or we can't get it all the time. So we just decided to write a specials menu and not print up menus constantly.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I know what I wanted to ask. Is there a difference between what the locals look for here and what the visitors look for when they come here?
I don't think so. Maybe a little bit. I mean, one of the things we really don't have on the menu here at all right now is any kind of steak. And we're really seafood heavy. But we've got chicken dishes and we've got other stuff. But I don't know if you're going out looking, and I think locals probably after a while you get sick of seafood.
I don't.
Well, neither
but
do I. But
yeah.
I mean, sometimes after a while.
Well, maybe that's why the poke bowl's so
right.
big here.
That's one of our most popular things.
Do you have any problems getting clams? Is that
Clams just went into so last year when red tide hit, and it hit for a while last year, we didn't serve clams because I felt
Yeah.
because I advertised as Essex clams and I didn't want to not serve Essex clams. But this year we had red tide that hit us for
Yeah.
I don't know, a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks or whatever it was. Our guy that we get the clams from is local here to Essex, so we used Maine clams that he had. So still Essex clams coming from an Essex purveyor, but they just weren't dug up in Essex.
Gulf of Maine, though. Gulf of Maine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
But
good.
no, we don't have a problem getting them. So,
Okay.
'cause it's the guys here in Essex that we buy from.
Yeah. Well, so lastly, I want to ask, how have the locals responded to Ripple on the Water, and what do you love most about what you do?
Okay.
The locals have been really embraced us with warm arms. You know, like we have a huge, we have a ton of locals that come in all the time, a great fan base, and they really have embraced us. It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do any advertising when we first opened, so it was all
Wow.
word of mouth. And
Yeah.
so when we opened last June, it was all people just coming in, driving by. So you got to imagine they're local someplace that we saw you were open, we decided to come back in, and you know it was all word of mouth that we were open.
And you'll be open all winter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it'll be such a cozy place to be here.
Yeah.
this
We
winter.
were open all this past winter, so
Yeah.
So it's, we're all year round.
So
Great.
if people want to find you guys online, take a look at the menu, can they do that beforehand, before coming to 74 Main Street?
Yep.
Ripple Restaurant?
RippleRestaurant.com.
Yep.
And our menu's on there. I'll have to put our specials menu up on a regular basis, but that's one of those things I got to work on.
Yeah, people have to know that when they look at that menu that it's minus the specials,
Minus
and
the
it's going to,
specials.
yeah,
We do a lot more
yeah,
specials on there too.
right.
Did you
right.
do anything like people need to call beforehand, or do you do private
can-
parties, or
You can
anything?
always make a reservation. You know, you don't need one. We've got a great deck out here that you can sit outside. We do private parties, and we do, you know, we'll take larger reservations inside too. But you know, we're open for anything. So,
Well, it's certainly one of the premier settings on Cape Ann, I think, to have the authenticity of the Essex Shipbuilding Museum right next door, and know that those boats were launched right here, and your little restaurant is really nice.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah, we
Really
appreciate
great.
you having us today and being so gracious to us. We're staying for lunch, by the way, afterwards. We have to.
Definitely
No,
are.
our
Yeah.
pleasure, our
That's a
pleasure.
no-brainer. Okay, so
Yeah.
Tom and Michelle Riordan, thanks so much. Congratulations
Thank you.
on the business continuing, and we got to get back here, right? We have to get back
Oh, we're
here.
definitking getting back
Yeah.
here. Yeah,
You
exactly.
we'll
guys
make
are
a
welcome
trip.
whenever you want to come back.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your
Tomorrow?
time. These look
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
We can keep, if you want us, we can keep these out there to display or whatever you want to do. Okay, awesome. Okay, thanks, Tom and Michelle.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
We'll
guys.
catch up with you
Thank
soon.
guys.
All right.
Beautiful.
Take care, and thanks for letting us be here today.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
So Heather, did you come here with me one time, or
No, I
we
was
haven't-
supposed to.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's right.
something happened and I couldn't.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
I remember.
I know you said you're sitting on the deck at Ripple in the Water, and
Yeah.
I was missing it.
Yeah, and actually, and I really like. It's an awesome dining area too. They have big windows everywhere. You can see all sides of the building, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I always think about winter in the middle of summer, and I always think I project forward like, oh, I can't wait. It's going to be cozy and nice. I mean, it's beautiful right now, but I'm projecting into that dining room this winter.
Dying to talk them into like breakfast or brunch.
They should
I
do
think
it.
they would kill it over here.
They would kill it. I mean, this porch. I mean, our viewers can't see the porch we're looking at,
Yeah.
but it's beautiful.
Well, and even off season, being in there,
oh
you get the
yeah,
same view.
yeah.
Awesome stuff. So.
No, it's special.
And we're gonna
Very
feed
special.
the ducks frozen peas later. I think the two of
Do
us.
they like frozen peas?
I don't.
Is
I've
that a
heard
thing?
that's better than bread for ducks.
Oh, that's
We'll-
smart.
we'll have
How
to
are
ask.
the ducks doing?
I don't know.
They've all gone.
The
They're
rest-
just
are they
straight
gone?
up. Yeah, the army of them has left.
Who knows?
But yeah.
All right. Well, now time for guest number 2, Heather.
I love this guest. Yes, exactly. And it's going to be a really great Essex conversation. Pure Essex.
Yeah, Katie Montgomery is the new executive director for the Essex Shipbuilding Museum and the Historical Society as well. And she is, I think, it's their second appearance on Cape today. Wait,
Yeah.
it might be even more than that, but I'm not sure. How are you doing, Katie? Good to see you again.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
we
is it?
did-
Have we
we-
just done this?
We just talked to you maybe a month ago.
Yeah, we did a Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my first time talking to you in this role was that Zoom. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But
Right.
I've seen you in other places around
Yeah,
town.
yeah. We work
You're
together in
even
different
better
roles.
in person, though. You really are.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Katie, how is life over the Shipbuilding Museum? How's summer going so far?
It is off to a great start. We have visitors coming through all the time. All of our exhibits in the orientation center have been rehabbed, and they're really fresh and a new way to look at some old history. And the shipyard is buzzing with activity and evolving all the time. And then we have some great summer programming that we're excited to have have gotten a good start on.
Yeah. So how long has the museum been there? And I think it's important to know it's an active work area too.
Yeah. So the museum story is kind of interesting. The Historical Society was founded in 1937. And that was mainly just a group of people who were really into Essex history, and they came together and they did research and they wrote papers. Then in 1976, in recognition of the bicentennial of the Revolution, they added on the Shipbuilding Museum. So then they started to house the collections. We started to amass artifacts. And that started happening in the 1835 schoolhouse that we still actually inhabit at 28 Main Street.
Oh wow, yeah.
And there are exhibits and our archives live up there. In 1990, the Evelina Goulart was raised, it had sunk down in New Haven, or New Bedford, I believe. It sunk, and someone raised it up and decided to return it home to Essex. So this is a boat built in 1927 for the Goulart family, and it's this beautiful story about, the American dream. You come over, this Portuguese family, and they got their go fishing, and they all threw in to build this boat, and it fished for years and years until eventually it went derelict, like sometimes wooden boats do. And it was brought back here. And
where did it sink? Did you say that
it
already?
was New Bedford.
Bedford, yeah.
New Bedford.
Yeah.
So they brought it here and they pulled it up right behind us on this land. So this acre of land that goes pretty much from Ripple across the boat ramp and over where all that Phragmites is an acre that was set aside in 1668 for the men of Chabaco, which is now Essex, to build ships.
So they recognized this river and this land as a good place to build ships.
Yes.
Or were they really good at it and they just decided to do it here?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
It was a mix of circumstance and the craftsmen that really they took to it and they got really good.
So Katie, you and I were talking before, and
Yeah.
I'd love for you to just run through this. How originally the ships that they were building in that 18th century, let's start with that, fit in this river, and they were meant for fishing, and it was all to scale. And as the fishing industry grew, things changed. Do you want to run through that? And for instance, you got bigger boats.
Sure. So really the evolution of the American fishing schooner, it started, I would say, with the shallops. And shallops were the small boats that were brought over by the European settlers. So, everybody knows the Mayflower. And when the Mayflower came here, it was too big to bring over and hit Plymouth Rock, right? So they actually had small boats on board the bigger boats that they would then bring a shipwright along, and he would stitch it together because they would have it in pieces.
Oh my gosh.
And the shipwright would build the small boat, and they'd take the small boat to shore because you don't want to crash your big boat.
Yeah.
And those small boats, I believe, were really the inspiration for the Chabaco boat, which was designed here and on the Chabaco River, which is the Essex River now. And the Chabaco boat was like the truck of the 1600s, like a pickup truck. And really the people of Essex, they would build these boats. The rumor is the first one was built in the attic of a Burnham's house, and they had to take the wall down to get it out of the attic.
Something about that.
Sounds like a Burnham.
Yeah.
That's a Burnham movie, yeah.
If you know a
I
Burnham,
think I'll
you're
build a boat here in my attic.
So the Chabaco boat they were these big bulbous, like a cat schooner. So
You
two
have one
masts.
over there, right?
Yes, we have one over there. It's our best idea of what the boat would look like. There isn't a lot of plans or documentation from way back then. And so that was Harold Burnham used paintings and different anecdotes from stories and letters to figure out what that boat would have looked like.
Yeah.
And
Harold Burnham's the master shipwright right next door.
yes,
to
Harold
you.
Burnham's master shipwright, who he actually operates a commercial yard that is right next door to the museum. So we interpret his work to the public, because as a small museum, we probably, if we started building the big ships, we wouldn't know what to do with them. They don't really run out of the Essex River. They're a little too big.
Yeah.
So Harold builds them, and we just talk about it. And we'll help out too. We're we're all handy in that way.
That's cool.
Well, that's just the sentence that I wanted you to land on, is that these boats are too big for this river.
Yes.
That's what ended up happening. Like the Evelina is one of them, right?
Yeah, so eventually the boats got bigger and bigger as the fishing industry started to increase. And so the fishing industry in Gloucester was booming. And at that point in time, you didn't want to use the Gloucester waterfront to build boats. You probably could, but you're wasting great dock space. And they have all these deep water docks that you could just stack boats in. And they say in Gloucester in the old days you could walk across the entire harbor just from boat to boat.
Wow.
So we would build them here where we don't have that deep water dock space. And we'd build them and leave them light. So there wouldn't be any ballast put in them. And if you know a little bit about boats and stability, you need a bunch of weight in the bottom to keep it sitting where you want it to in the water. But they would float them out light, and then in Gloucester they would add all the weight to it. So the Goulart came over in 1990, and that's when we acquired the shipyard that is like the heart of the museum now.
Gotcha.
Well, what is so interesting to see that Goulart is it's so big. And you can, out of water, you really get a sense of the scale of those later schooners, right?
Yeah, and she wasn't even the biggest.
Yeah, yeah. And apparently there was also a motor on the Goulart originally, and that was a transitional time too, right?
Yes. So the Goulart's an example of a transitional vessel. When they started to be purpose-built to have engines in them, so there'd be a steam engine inside. And that boat actually has a lovely history. It's really interesting because from May to October they fished it as a sword fishing vessel, and they'd have the full sails on it, the bowsprit with the pulpit at the end. And then the rest of the year they'd bring it into a boatyard in Gloucester, they'd take all of that sword fishing gear off, and they would add dragging gear, and then they would drag all winter. So they put a cabin house on it. Like we have two separate models.
Transformer.
Inside.
Yeah, right.
You can see that difference.
Or Yankee, like efficiency or
ingenuity or whatever
yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Or just the need to keep working.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So Katie, for folks who have never been to the Shipbuilding Museum, what can folks find inside? Is it family friendly? How big's the campus? Things like that.
So we have a pretty large campus. We are family friendly. We like to think of ourselves as hands-on and participatory. There are some we have a teaching collection, so you can actually pick up tools that were used 200 years ago and maybe take a whack at it. And so it's really great. The kids love to be able to swing hammers.
Yeah, jeez. How many chaperones per kid?
Yeah, right.
You find they have a surprising amount of self-preservation instinct,
right.
And they generally don't hit themselves or each other. But so our campus goes from 66 Main Street. We have the Orientation Center building with some air-conditioned, curated exhibits like you would see in a regular museum that leads you out into the shipyard. And the shipyard is an active working site, so there's all sorts of stuff going on in the shipyard. And there's some interactive exhibits that you can touch and feel and play, and you can talk to people who are actually doing the work. And then you can go up the hill to 28 Main Street, where we take care of the 1835 schoolhouse. It was the central schoolhouse for a while for the children of Essex. And in there are more exhibits and our archives, and out back is an ancient burial ground. And you can explore, and we have all of the headstones documented. We get quite a few people soul searching up there looking for their relatives.
So what's the oldest grave up there, do you know?
The oldest one.
And the only reason I ask is in Gloucester we've got a really old one.
Yeah.
I think we found like 1619.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, wow. So, that's amazing.
Unbelievable. Huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of people come and they're like, that's my great, and you're like, wow.
Right. Yeah. So Katie, if people want to find the Shipbuilding Museum or learn more about it, how can they go about doing that?
Oh, we are online. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on our website, which is essexshipbuilding.org.
Beautiful.
Great.
Well, thanks so much for spending time with us. We've got to get back there. We have to do a show over there sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely.
After greenhead season,
and
right?
we also, I think we talked the last time, and we can do it the next time, about the Crossroads program with the Smithsonian that you guys are involved in.
Yes,
right?
Yes. So we're hosting a Smithsonian exhibit. It's a collaboration put on by Mass Humanities or enabled by Mass Humanities. And we're so grateful. And that is going to start September 10th and run till October 22nd. And that would take an entire segment to
Right.
talk about.
So we'll do
just
that.
itself.
We'll
That's
do
a
that.
big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome
Yeah.
So
stuff.
we'll
lot.
connect with you just
Yeah.
before that. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Katie. It was great chatting up
Yeah.
with you again, and
Yeah,
catching
thanks
up all
for
the
having
time.
me.
We'll
Yeah,
see you in a
thank
couple of weeks on Cape Ann today, probably.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, just keep it
Great.
going.
Thank
Yeah, Katie Montgomery, folks, she is the new executive director of the Essex Shipbuilding Museum, as well as the Historical Society as well, so it was great catching up with her.
Yeah, I love this place.
Yeah.
It's just.
It is a cool campus over
Yeah.
there, too.
I was walking around before we
we
got
didn't
here,
know.
and
We didn't know you came
I
early
learned a
today.
lot.
You're
Exactly.
floating around.
Yeah, there are guys working over there, and they'll talk to you about history. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So our next guest is getting situated now. This is a
More
longtime,
history, more
longtime
history.
friend of mine, Heather.
Yeah.
His name is Vinnie Caravella. He owns the Scrapbook.
You've been telling
Which
me
is-
about Vinnie for a long time.
Yeah, so it's an antique prints and maps. Let's come on over, Vinnie.
Vinnie's about to give us a joke too.
So
I
he's
know that.
he does custom framing, right? That's sort of his bread and butter. But
Mm-hmm.
he also has an amazing array of antique prints and maps dating back to, I think, the 14th century.
Do we need to move the
We can
the
move
dishes
this
here?
Yeah.
Let's.
So let's move this stuff out of the way to whoever can grab.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We just don't want the prints to get involved with the food.
Yep. Or the beetle.
Yeah.
So, and Vinnie has been doing this for a long time now, and
Mm-hmm.
he is situated, if you remember where the White Elephant shop is, like the most famous antique spot.
Is he
really.
not near the ancient cemetery?
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, he's
there.
right there,
So
right?
it's,
Yeah.
And Vinnie is directly behind that. It's called the Scrapbook.
Yeah.
So, and here he is, Vinnie
Hi.
Caravella. How are you?
How you doing?
It's good to see you again.
Thank you. And what a beautiful day.
This is gorgeous, huh?
This is the place to be.
Yeah.
This is a great restaurant.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Nice to
We
hear.
talked about that a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. place.
Absolutely. So,
So, Vinnie,
yeah,
someone doesn't know what the Scrapbook is. What do you tell them?
we don't sell scrapbook material.
Right. Yeah.
That's number one. I get these phone calls from all over the country
Yeah.
asking me for scrapbook material. I says, no, you got. Well, what do you do with a name like that? It goes. There's a long story to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we specialize in early maps and prints, decorative, antique, and and we do a lot of picture framing now.
Right.
More in the old days, pre-pandemic, we would primarily framing for ourselves and for the trade. So the auction houses in town, some of the dealers in town, movie sets. We did a lot of movie sets.
Well, that's interesting.
The pandemic hit, and of course my shows from Boston to Atlanta were canceled. So we had to make a decision, and so we went online and started publicizing. We'll do framing, and we've been inundated with stuff.
Yeah.
It's been great. I mean, thank goodness.
That's amazing.
It's been fantastic. But what I did today is bring a few things that
Yeah.
are Cape Ann related, and a couple of other special things.
So let's start taking a look, Vinnie, and you can sort of walk us through this, and you guys let us know which camera is the best to show things off.
Okay,
Over here?
over
Let
there.
me do this.
That's a map of Essex, where we are, and it's from an atlas in 1873.
Wow.
And of course, some of the magic names are on it: the Burnhams, the Stories, the Coswells, etc. So if you had a home or a building here in Essex at that time, it's there. So we do reproductions of it, but we also sell the originals.
Is this the original or
This
reproduction?
is a reproduction.
Okay. Yeah.
Because a lot of people say, well, I only want to hang it up in my summer home and I don't want to do it. But we do reproductions also now, which is becoming an important part of our business.
Yeah. And I've been in your shop a lot when people ask specifically for this kind of map.
Yeah.
What do you think the appeal is, other than the age?
Well, it's maybe they put family names on it.
Mm.
The house that they're living in is there,
Yeah.
or they just want something of Essex.
So, what are some of the oldest maps you have, and what's the story like behind them?
Okay, first of all,
Oh,
the
sorry.
people always come in and say, what's the oldest piece you
Yeah.
got in? Okay? The oldest piece is stuff like this.
I love that one.
And this is
The botanical?
a botanical published in the year 1597. So
Wow.
Elizabeth I is on the throne of England at the time, And young Billy Shakespeare hasn't written Romeo and Juliet. And that piece of paper is from that period of time. And we give out documents, we sign documents and
Yeah.
everything else. The framing we do, it's archivally matted and framed.
Huh.
And we do a whole series of them. They usually sell out real quick.
So how does paper last that long?
Well, the paper is actually, old paper is made out of cotton, rag. In fact, today sometimes we call mat board, rag mat board,
Yeah.
which is a high cotton content. And they beat it to a pulp in a syrup. They put it in vats and it would gel. Think of Jello or gelatin. And then they could print on it or write on it. And it was very, very high cotton content. Later in the Victorian era, because there was so much stuff to print, they started using wood pulp, which is highly acidic. And it can be a problem. It'll go brittle on you. But this stuff will last forever unless
guess
you
so.
put a match to it. So.
Well, you know, I was always surprised in the years I've gotten to know you, Vinnie, was how many people request botanicals. I just didn't know it was that popular.
Yeah, well, it's a good decorative item. It's a no-fail piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
Botanicals and ferns are good, and it's environmental things are in now.
Uh-huh.
You know, the environment now.
Cool. All right, what else we have to show off?
Okay, since I'm just taking things out of order, but
That's fine.
this piece with all the excitement about the celestial photographs, here's one from the mid 1700s of what they thought the constellations and what the heavens had. So one part of it is the constellations of the northern sky and constellations of the southern sky.
Want to look at that, Heather?
Mm-hmm,
So, Vinnie, are these pulled from books or?
Some of it, like this and the Essex map, are from atlases
Okay.
of different sizes. This is a miniature atlas. This is the Essex County atlas.
And colored.
And colored.
It's
Some
beautiful.
of them come colored.
Really
some
beautiful.
are colored somewhere in their history.
Oh, okay.
Who knows? You know.
So did you start out loving old things or start out loving prints or maps?
I was a kid in the 4th grade. I remember.
Uh-oh.
Way back in the 4th grade. I was always interested. I was fascinated by Lewis and Clark. I was interested in history. And I was the kid, you know, they tell us the story of Lewis and Clark, and any questions, and my hand would go up. Yeah, what happened to the baby? Now, if you've seen Sacagawea, and she's got the papoose on her back, and they'd look at me kind of strange. And for years, I was just fascinated. Why did Columbus sail west to get east? You know, what's the backstory
Yeah.
on that stuff? Why, why did we continually move west? Why did they come to New England instead of going somewhere else? 1623, that's Champlain, I assume, is what they're dating, and the fishing industry that began out here on our coast.
Yeah.
Was there were people already out here, but they were just fishing and then going back home. And sometimes they're on the run.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So we settled here, we settled in James Cook is one of these great adventure stories
Yeah.
of the several voyages. And he used a guy, his second in command was a guy from Boston. And the 3rd voyage, the one that he was killed on, the United States was in, or the Americas were in revolt, and the British Admiralty didn't trust the guy, so they replaced him, and everybody moved up a bit, and a young ensign named Bligh, William Bligh, comes in. If you know Mutiny on the Bounty,
Yeah,
that's William Bligh. So there are connections in history that just keep going and going and going.
Very cool. Well, so you brought a lot of stuff, Vinnie, so I don't want to, we want to
Yeah.
show off all of it.
Okay, this is one of the pieces
Yeah.
we do, which is based on
this one.
Yeah.
Fitzhugh Lane.
Unbelievable.
And so it's licensed to us, and we publish them. It's a good seller. In fact, sometimes my wife will say, "What are you doing today?" "I'm going to print money."
And this is from 1836.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah. Do you own the original?
No,
Yeah.
See that, Heather?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
but we're licensed
Just
from
beautiful.
Gorgeous.
it. Here's another one, celestial, with the constellations of. And if you stood it in April, May, or June, that quarter of the year, and looked from a certain direction at the sky in the northern hemisphere, this is supposedly what you would see. It's
And
part of
also
a
from the 1850s.
And
Wild, huh?
nautical charts have, of course, have always been important. And I have two here that relate to Cape Ann. This one is Gloucester Harbor,
Okay.
and this one is
Oh, yeah.
and this one is Annisquam. And you notice Annisquam is Annis Squam, split. And these were published by
Yeah.
George and Edmund Burt. George and Edmund. Now I drew a blank. I'm old. I forget easy.
No, you're not. Blunt?
Blunt.
No, yeah.
The blunt maps. And what
Yeah.
they did is they, until the beginning of the Civil War, the American Civil War, the U.S. government would do the surveys and they would do the publishing. And these were issued like in a group of maps for a mariner sailing from roughly the Isle of Shoals or Portsmouth down through to Pensacola, Florida, and each one would have a map. Now, water and maps don't get along too well with paper, and so a lot of them were destroyed, and you can't find them in this kind of condition usually.
I did a little piece for 1623 on the history of Annisquam, and Annis is actually a person. We found the family in, I want to say, the Ontario area is where they came from. So it was Annis.
Well, the connection of New England to Canada is very strong, and early maps would often feature New England and the Canadian maritime province in one.
Very cool. So is this anything, Vinnie, or is that just
That's just a
just a
piece
map?
of cardboard.
Oh, awesome, fascinating stuff. So so for folks who have never been to the scrapbook before, what are they going to find if they go inside, other than 9,000 frames? That are all...
A mess.
Yeah.
No, because of the pandemic, we had to unload a lot of stuff, bring it in. Don't be put off by it. We're very friendly. We're willing to talk to you. Right now, we have this stuff for sale, of course, but if you've got any kind of picture framing needs, get a price from us. People have said the word wow when I quote, and in the beginning I thought was, well, I'm too expensive. One guy asked me, are you going to make any money on that? Kind of thing. So our prices are very good. They're free quotes. We're happy to give it, or if you got something you think is valuable, bring it in. There was a woman that called my wife. She was cleaning out her mom's place. Okay, she comes in with the map. She called my wife and she says, "Do you think you'll look at this map?" She brings it in, and I look at it. It's a map of the world by a guy named Abraham Ortelius in 1595.
Wow.
Wow.
Real one.
Wow.
Beautiful condition. I mean, probably the best condition I've ever seen it. And why don't I find these things?
Yeah, right.
So she shows it to me, and I said, where did you find it? She says, in the barn on her mother's property. Your barn? Okay. So she says, what do you think?
Did you ask the address of the barn?
Yeah.
Where is that barn?
Well, I said, I can give you $50 for it. And she says, oh, will you? And I said, no, I can't. So what I did is I ended up brokering it for her and selling it to a big gallery in Brooklyn. And she came back with another piece. So we'll even, if there's some big pieces that you think are very good, we will happily research stuff for people. So that if they say, well, thank you very much, but I'm going to keep it, that's fine. But if they want to sell something, or we can broker it for them. High-end pieces, usually we can broker. And they can get a lot more money for it than trying to sell it.
Very nice. So, Vinnie, if people want to find the scrapbook, how can they go about doing that?
Okay. Well, you said it earlier, the White Elephant Shop.
Yeah.
What used to be red is now dark blue.
But no elephant.
And we're opposite, if you look across from the Congregational Church, we're at 34 Main Street. There's a driveway. You go down the driveway, look to the left.
White clamshell driveway.
Yeah, well, there's not so many clamshells.
I know, it's been time.
Look to the left and we're right there.
Yeah.
And we're usually open noon to 5 every day. By chance or appointment, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we're open noon to 5.
Awesome.
Great. Great.
Vinnie, it was great catching up.
All right, great.
Yeah, folks, go
Nice
to
to
the
meet
Scrapbook.
you.
Go for
Yeah.
the framing. Go for the antique prints and maps. Stay for the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I do when I go every time.
Yeah,
Vinnie, we'll
if
spend
you
it.
got an hour to kill, I'm your guy.
Yeah, that's it. Vinnie, thanks so much. I'll go see you soon, okay?
Cheers.
All right.
Thank you.
very
Take
much.
care.
Thank you,
Thanks
Vinnie.
for being here.
All right, let's get some help for this stuff. Thanks, Alana. Got it, Vinnie? That's a big one. Got that too. Beautiful. Yeah, fascinating stuff, huh? So this
Really.
is what happens, Heather. Every time I go see Vinnie since day one,
Yeah.
I'll go like 11 in the morning, and then now it's like 5 p.m.
I-
Then
I-
we're making dinner plans.
Yeah, I was enjoying a really solid conversation with him before the show.
It's awesome.
So yeah, no, he's great.
And
He
you
really
can
is.
just sort of, I mean, the walls are adorned with all these different, the botanicals and the maps and all that too. But then there's just, you can just like finger through.
And he's got all
piece
that
after piece
research
after
probably
piece.
at his fingertips. So he
Oh, he
can
knows
tell
it.
you so much
He's
about
a
each of
walking
these things.
encyclopedia.
Yeah,
Awesome
no, it's
stuff.
really
All right, Daisy,
interesting.
come on in. This is Daisy Knowles with us. We
I
haven't talked to Daisy in a
know.
long time.
Kory, I've never spoken to Daisy.
Really? This
I
is
hate
a
to
first?
say this, yes, and
Oh.
it's an honor to meet you.
Prepare for your
Daisy.
mind to be blown.
I know.
Daisy, I was going to say, you carry your own straw with you?
I do.
It's great to meet you, Daisy. I'm Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Nice
How you
to
doing,
see
Daisy?
too.
Great. I'm gonna park myself. Sorry, I'm just getting myself adjusted.
Yeah. So this is your neck of the woods, Daisy.
My hometown.
Yeah, that's great.
Love it. And so, well, first of all, should we talk Schooner Fest right off the top?
Well, we could either talk Schooner Fest or clams. I'm probably here more for Schooner Festival.
Well, let's start
I
with
want to talk clams,
Well,
though.
you
but-
start, Heather.
It
You go. You
Yeah,
go.
so let's talk clams. So what's going on with the clams?
They're good. That's
Yeah.
all you need to know.
Okay, all right. We don't have to worry about red
Right
tide.
on to Schooner Fest. No.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
And the green crabs and clams, that's all right?
it's part of the invasion.
Yeah, right.
You know, they're coming, and we just have to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else you'd like to know?
Well, yeah, actually, let's go back to the fact that this is your world, Essex.
Yeah.
It is.
And tell people what is so wonderful about Essex.
Well, you know, I grew up in this town. My dad had a farm, and there were a lot of farms in Essex in the 50s. And not just Hardy's Hatchery, but there were several different places that farmed, had eggs for sale, vegetables for sale. You didn't have anything like a farmer's market back there because there were a lot of farmers and there were vegetable stands all over. And that's where you got your vegetables. In those days, it was, some people thought kind of a sleepy little town, but the shipbuilding maybe had calmed down in the 50s.
Mm.
But my dad was a selectman and eventually town moderator, and everybody knew everybody. And it was it's not changed all that much, but it has changed because more land has been developed into private homes, and there are more businesses, certainly more restaurants. and
Fewer
other
farms.
businesses, and way fewer farms. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, Hardy's Hatchery was a big one here,
Right.
and they're gone by the boards.
So, Daisy, at what point does the town transition from being an epicenter for boat building to the antiques? The antique shop, that's what I remember as a kid growing up,
Yeah,
70s,
right.
80s, 90s, where the antique places were everywhere.
Well, now it's antique people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, the antiques was something that people realized was a combination. You could put together kind of a package in your head of thinking, let's go to Essex. We'll go around in the antique shops and find something that we didn't know we wanted, and then go get some fried clams.
Mm-hmm.
And one store after another cropped up, some of them very high-end quality antiques, which now would probably, you'd think of them as being auction material that you'd see online or on television.
Huh.
And others were like the White Elephant shop. There was a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it was fun to browse around. You might find just that old salt and pepper shaker that you thought you'd never see again.
Yeah. Or
I-
especially you brought up the White Elephant, you would just stumble across something so localized you couldn't believe that this was part of here. Yeah.
I told Tom Ellis one time back when in the old days when Tom Ellis owned it with Rick Robe, he would buy things from people on Tuesdays. I went down there and I said, "Don't let me come back here and buy this again."
So, is there any explanation for how it became this cluster of antique shops? And
Well, I think it was mostly because like a lot of things in a lot of areas, one thing leads to another. First there's one, then two, and people think, well, if he can do it, I know I can do it. And you know, it becomes a thing. I mean, after all, with shipbuilding, when you think about it, this isn't exactly on the edge of the ocean. This is a tidal river. And when you tell people that 4,000 ships were built here, you think, wait a minute, did the ocean come all the way in here? No, this is a very tidal river. And it was a feat of physics and science and determination that got those boats out of here once they were built. There were some large vessels built here, but I think that maybe speaks to the character of the town, where people stuck to it and did what they wanted to do. This was a parish of Ipswich for a long time, and then 200 years ago, Essex became its own town, and I think that it was clear then that Essex sort of had this sort of determination, self-determination, and it kept reinventing itself. And I think it still is, and I think that's probably a good thing, that towns reinvent themselves, because it's certainly not stagnant. That's one thing you can't say about Essex.
This is true.
It's not stagnant, and it's almost like the tide. The tide comes in, the tide goes out, and every now and then there's something new.
People go through it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you are known as Daisy Nell and Captain Stan in the crabgrass group?
Yeah,
Is that right?
don't say that with a full mouth.
I didn't. Yeah. But so did you grow up on boats and singing on boats? Like how, what's the history there?
I think I was always the entertainer in my family. I had a huge family, and the only way to get attention was to be either really bad or really funny. I was both. And I remember my dad was in local politics, and I can remember very clearly him standing me up on the bar at the old Fleur de Lis restaurant. Now, if there are people out there that remember the Fleur de Lis, they're older than I am. But for many, many years it was the South Essex Antique Shop, and now it's the place that sells sewer pipes. Go figure. But anyway, it's a wonderful old building, but I can remember going down there. This is just Bastille Day, a couple days ago. And on Bastille Day, my father propped me right up on the bar and led everybody singing the Marseillaise. So
oh my gosh.
Singing away. And so I did grow up singing and loved to sing. When the folk music boom started, so to speak, in the 60s, I was right there. And so I learned to play the guitar. A lot of my brothers and sisters learned to play the guitar and the banjo, and it was infectious. And in our family, it was something that my parents both loved. That the music that had been around with the Weavers and Burl Ives and Pete Seeger and all that. So it was just a natural that we all would sing. I mean, we'd sing in car rides and all that kind of stuff. But then I branched out and started learning more about music and learning more about our local history and the vessels that were built here in Essex, and our local pride in that. As a younger child, I never really got the sense that they were talking about schooners. I thought they were talking about scooters. You know, those things you push with your foot, you know. So a lot of people had scooters. I thought, what's the big deal? Everybody has a scooter. But as I matured, I learned about schooners and schooners in Gloucester, and the whole history and the connection between Essex and Gloucester. And in 1985, I owned a schooner, and we were the founding vessel for the Gloucester Schooner Festival in 1985.
Wow.
And that's now 38 years ago, and it's still going strong.
Yeah.
And we're about to celebrate the 38th year coming up this year, Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
It's grown a lot.
There are a lot of big boats in that
awesome
in that festival. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a huge Herculean effort of a small community of volunteers that has gotten together. A lot of us have been there since the beginning. It's a program of Maritime Gloucester, so it's in exactly the right place to be, right on the waterfront, a working waterfront location where there's dock space there for schooners to tie up when they come here. We have about 24 boats that we know are coming now this year. There probably will be a couple more who join in, and maybe a couple that fall out. We've been through, like everybody, the pangs and tribulations of COVID. We lost a year. We had the Schooner Festival last year, and everybody was triply thrilled to be back, and especially in the summer when you could be outside, you didn't have to worry so much. But that boulevard was jam-packed with people.
Yeah.
When we did I serve as the commentator on for the parade on the boulevard, taking the place of the irreplaceable Joe Garland. And so that when the schooners go by, I'm looking at which one is coming in next and trying to say something halfway intelligent about it. And I almost never look from side to side, but every now and then I get a glimpse of what looks to be thousands of people here, or thousands of people there, and then they're up at the fort and out on the balcony at Beauport Hotel, and you know, it's really an amazing sight.
It's becoming as big as Fiesta, I find.
Well,
I think so too.
The Chamber of Commerce says, and that's where we started, by the way, at the Chamber of Commerce, but we have an education component now, which has gotten us down to Maritime Gloucester for the last dozen years, which makes sense. But the Chamber says that it's probably the biggest retail weekend in the entire calendar year.
Wow.
So that's not insignificant, and that's what helps us get to the point where we feel comfortable asking businesses for their support, because especially restaurants and retail shops, but restaurants in particular along the waterfront, they do well, because everybody who's coming to Gloucester needs something to eat, and the boats coming to Gloucester have crew on board. They don't always want to eat what they're cooking in the galley. And then as far as lodging is concerned, that's sold out a year in advance.
Yeah,
wow.
It's an amazing spectacle.
So what happened to your schooner, and where is it now? What was the name of your schooner? That's what I meant.
The first schooner that I had was called Morning Star, and last thing I heard, she was in a field in Pennsylvania, so she's long gone. But my husband Stan and I had a schooner called Shearwater that was built right there next door at the Shipbuilding Museum, the last schooner built at the Story Shipyard, and Brad Story built that schooner. And it was a wonderful thing to have a schooner built by Brad Story, who is a friend, a dear friend, and the whole family is, I mean...
And an artist, right?
An artist, a terrific artist. To be able to say that Brad Story and Harold Burnham are friends, and I knew their parents, and that gives me a kind of a pride in being from Essex. That is, you can't really describe what that feels like when you get to be in your 70s and you look back at your life and you think, wow, that's a big piece of history, and it's a big piece of my heart, you know. But our schooner was Shearwater, and she's now in Maine, and happily in Maine, and we have a schooner called Redbird that Stan and I sailed home from Virginia, where we bought her a number of years ago now, and we just couldn't get enough varnish work in our lives, so we bought a boat that had even more work to do every year, and that's what keeps us out of trouble.
It's funny, because Daisy, most of the time when I bump into you, it's actually over at the Shipbuilding Museum.
I know. Well, we're
varnishing.
Well,
working on the boat. Well, either that or doing helping out one, or going to one of the programs down there. This is a huge, wonderful resource. Brad Story's dad, Dana Story, was a guy with just the most incredible sense of history and what had happened there in his lifetime. And he was a great storyteller of things to do with the local history. And he was so engaging and so wonderful. But, you know, we would go down there to listen to programs when he would be talking, or Brad would be doing a program, or locally there's such a rich history. I mean, even Manchester had the Crocker family as well, and the Crocker family and the designs of the Sturgis Crocker, the first Sturgis Crocker, Sam Crocker, Sturgis, Sam Crocker. Those designs are now, we see them in the Schooner Festival. We have several Crocker schooners that come back year after year, and it's a real part of our maritime history. And that, frankly, there's the fishing schooner part of the history, which was fishing under sail. There's also, in the schooner classes that are not the large fishing schooners, there are passenger schooners that are built, and like the ones that Harold Burnham has built, that are for taking passengers out and using the same exact tools, sometimes literally the exact tools that were used to build schooners like Adventure, Ernestina, Morrissey, and right here, or right there at the James Yard. And then the passenger schooners are quoting from history in a way that lets people get on the water, see how these simple machines worked. The height of technology 100 years ago is the same technology that's used by Harold Burnham today to not just build the boats, but to sail the boats. And then, you know, the designers like Alden were building boats that were a schooner rig, but that people realized if they could race the T-Bow and the Columbia and the Puritan against the Canadian schooners, the Blue Nose and so forth, those boats were fast and they would make a great private boat. So that's why the schooner design started to be used for people who were yachtsmen and pleasure cruisers who wanted to take their family out and go cruising to Maine, but also wanted to race every now and then, because once there are two boats in the same ocean, they're racing.
There we go. Yep. That's on.
That's the story of the T-Bow. But that is very cool that it was that schooner design, that efficiency, and that.
It's a split rig, and that means it's not a square rigger. It's still a 4.5 rig, but there are lots of options: the main, the fore, the jumbo, the jib, the flying jib. All those sails give you a lot of different options, and what's great is for sailors, it's not like a push button boat. You're busy.
Right.
And you know, it's good. It's very challenging. You're using a lot of critical thinking skills. You're dealing with the wind and the waves the same way people have been for millennia.
Right.
All right, I have one more question.
Sure.
I know we're running out of time. What's a great schooner book? If someone wants to read, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, a book that covers schooners.
You gotta go to Joe Garland for that.
I thought you were.
Well, I am reading Lone Voyager right now, Howard Blackburn's story.
Oh,
which
that's
is,
a great
that's,
story.
That's
Why
amazing.
don't they should make a movie.
They really
Yeah,
should.
right.
That would make a great movie.
Yeah.
It really, really would. There's not a role in there for me to play, but I still think it would make a great movie.
You never know.
Would be, yeah.
So Daisy, particulars on the Schooner Fest. I think we'll probably end up being down there for a show at some point, but just to give people the heads up.
Yeah, that's great. Well, September 1st is the sort of not largely advertised, but increasingly fun schooner challenge. That's something that Heath Ellis of the Schooner Lannon and Harold Burnham of the many schooners of Harold Burnham have cooked up this thing that is, the only way you can really describe it is it's clean, dumb fun. And you have no idea where you're going to go, no idea what the challenge is. The challenge is actually figuring out what it is. But some schooners go and they follow Harold around the harbor for a little while, and after a while someone says they won, and it's over. Yeah. That's the 1st of September. Friday the 2nd of September is the schooners start coming in. They're at the temporary floats that we put in every year in Harbor Cove. Yeah. And that's when the beginning of the excitement really starts for people to see those masts coming into Gloucester Harbor. There's a reception that night for the captains and the crew, and then Saturday day is Maritime Heritage Day, and the people start coming down to Maritime Gloucester, and there are programs there for educational programs and demonstrations, and of course food. At I4C2, people can go on to the schooners, look at the boats, and of course buy a T-shirt, help support the festival. And Saturday night there are fireworks, and Saturday morning, for the last couple of years now, and again this year, is a dory race.
Oh, I love that.
And the dory races last year are dory races from the International Dory Racers competing against people who've come on visiting schooners. So if you think you're tough and you can go out there and race those.
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, they did really well last year. The two women from the Columbia crew raced against some of those guys, and they did themselves proud.
Very cool.
They really did. And so Sunday morning is the parade at 10 o'clock. It comes right in past the greasy pole and by the statue of the man at the wheel, and then the race begins in the afternoon at 1.
Awesome.
So it's a very full weekend. It's fun for people. They now can get onto the boats. They can see them up close and talk to the crew, and it's a great source of local pride too, because it's our maritime history. It's our cultural history.
Yeah, highly recommend. That's an awesome weekend. So it blows my mind every time. Daisy, now it was great catching up with you again. If people want to learn more about Schooner Festival, how can they do that?
Maritime Gloucester. maritimegloucester.org, and anything to do with Maritime Gloucester, you can just go down there and talk to Michael, talk to Justin Dimitri, who used to be here. He's a great
cookbook
guy.
Rather good cookbook.
Yeah, he's great. And so just check in with Maritime Gloucester, find out not only what you can do on Schooner Weekend, but you can also donate to help us get those floats in the water every year. Yeah, but it's great. And when you see the visiting schooners, everybody welcome them to town, because this is the holy ground. Coming to Gloucester for these schooners, it's a big homecoming. They know that this is, New Bedford has whales. Salem has witches, or maybe has witches. we got schooners, and we can claim that.
I cry every show,
Oh
and you
my
just made it
God.
happen.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks
Daisy,
for
thanks so much. Yeah, it was great
Thank
catching
you,
up. We'll,
Daisy.
we'll talk to you soon, I'm
You
sure.
bet. Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go, folks. Daisy,
Thanks.
she is the chair
Okay, that is a
with
line
Gloucester
though.
Schooner Festival.
New Bedford has whales, Salem has witches,
Oh,
and Gloucester.
Don't make
has
yourself cry again.
Thank you, Daisy.
very
Thanks,
much.
Daisy.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. And I'm not like, that's not hyperbole. Like that weekend is
Oh,
awesome.
it's incredible, yeah.
And,
And it's often a day like today, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Usually this time, Heather, this time of week, you and I are catching up with Ethan Foreman of the Gloucester Times and Erika Brown of the Cricket to just sort of get caught up on the
news.
week's headlines,
Yeah.
locally. So
Yeah.
we thought it would be great because Erika has to cover. Come on in, Erika. You can.
Yeah, come sit
She has to
down.
cover Manchester and Essex.
Exactly, yeah.
No easy feat.
Yeah.
But here she is to.
She's a publisher that covers two
Yeah,
towns.
why not come
isn't-
today?
Okay, Katie has the best job in the world because this is essentially her
Oh my
Right?
God!
This is the backdrop of her office.
Isn't this
Isn't that
crazy?
It's
amazing?
like the most beautiful spot
And how about this restaurant,
on earth. Oh my
right?
God.
Isn't it
incredible.
heaven? Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Great to see you guys
Yeah.
outside in person.
I
Yeah.
know.
We
Once
never
again.
do
I
this.
brought my sunglasses in case I need them, but thankfully.
No,
I-
Heather likes to
I'm
wear
not
them
taking mine
when she's
off.
talking to guests.
Yeah,
I
'cause
don't.
This is
I-
so glamorous.
Exactly. It adds a little mystery, and I don't squint so
Exactly.
much.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Okay, I'll just
And if
take
you
them off
doze
for a
off,
second,
Okay.
but
no
I'm
one
gonna.
would know, right?
Can I show you something really quickly
Yeah,
that I
go ahead.
got literally on my way here?
Yeah.
I got a package about Stuffy McGinnis.
Oh, let me hold this up.
From
Stuffy.
from Mel George in Rockport.
Oh, I know Mel George.
Yeah, and I guess he just sent me a whole package of the fact that he's been lobbying for Stuffy McGinnis, and you know this, to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame for over 30 years, and he said the next time it's going to be considered is like 2032.
This is so funny you say that. Mel George's son, I was in a charity golf event on Monday.
Yeah.
And he came up to me then and said, hey, my dad's been trying this. Like, yeah, I used your dad's material to help me put this together.
Yeah, and of course this is all the work that Kory did, and then the Cricket, we partner with you on it, and we've
Yeah.
we've gotten some incredible feedback from it. Can I just read you this quote? This
Go-
is
yeah,
like,
please
I'm
do.
sure you, this is from the New York Times in
Yeah.
1918. The ninth inning saw the wise head of little Jack McGinnis play an important role in the timely halt of another Cub rally. No player in the whole series has shown more baseball sense than the first baseman of the Red Sox.
There you go.
There you
Gloucester,
go.
Manchester's own Stuffy McGinnis, and he was playing alongside Babe Ruth for the Boston Red Sox when they
Wow.
won their last World Series title in, what was it, 86 years or so, back in 1918.
It just
Stuffy
shows
was
you
there.
It's a spectacular story. So I just wanted to show you that because I literally just got it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's almost criminal that this guy is not recognized. really.
Criminal.
You got to get a ball field named after this man. That's
there
our
you
next
go.
task. So
Okay.
anyway, so what's going on, Erika? What went on in Manchester and Essex this past week?
Well, we have a lot of stuff going on actually. I mean, one big thing I think. I mean, can I get right into news?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the Water Resources Task Force, so it's called the Water Protection Resources Task Force. They've been working away for, unofficially for about 6 months, officially for about 3 months, in this 18-month charge to look into water. Right, water is a big theme, right? And we started coverage of that with Chuck Dam. We did a big Q&A with him. I think you remember in the beginning of the year. It was a full page because Chuck Dam, our DPW head, he's the past president of the Massachusetts Municipal Water Association. So it's like he's like no better person for like water. Amazing. The best damn DPW head. So in any case, we happened to do a piece on the fact that last week Massachusetts named our region in a level 2 drought. Did you know that? Okay, so that's sort of getting attention. So the selectmen took it up. Well, at the same time, it made it relevant that the Water Resources Task Force had just started discussing all the work looking into the water usage among Manchester users. And it was really interesting. So, who's the #1 water user in Manchester?
The Athletic Club.
Okay, very interesting.
Wow.
Okay, the Manchester Athletic Club.
Yeah.
And would you guess the same?
It's not the Singing Beach bathhouse.
No, it ain't. Although whatever. Okay, so it's not surprisingly the 18-hole golf course, the Essex County Country Club, right? So we have a very nice Tony, country club in town, and they're the #1 water user. Although it is ironic that I found out afterwards that their 18 holes, they have a recharge system, and they don't use municipal water for that. So, and yet they're still the #1 user.
They're not watering their grass with that?
No, they have a state-of-the-art system,
they're
but they're
still
still using the number one. So put that aside. Here's the surprising part. So commercial users in the top 20 are not a surprise, right?
right.
Essex, Manchester Athletic Club, you'd be like, okay, of course they'd be there. The school, of course, okay. Do you know that there are 3 private homes in Manchester? Private homes in Manchester that each individually use more water per year than the 3,000 member Manchester Athletic Club.
What are these people doing?
And by the way, the Manchester Athletic Club has locker rooms, 2 pools, and 3,000 members, and there's 3 homes. And there are 6 homes, private homes, dwellings, not like, compounds. Maybe they're a compound, I don't know. And 6 of them, I don't know, I haven't looked into it. 6 of them use more water per year, each individually, than the Manchester Essex Regional High School.
Wow. What, are there water slides built into these places?
I don't know, but I should go.
Those are incredible statistics.
It is incredible, but what it does is it forces the view that you say, when you talk about water usage and you talk about resources, you automatically think of commercial things, commercial entities, and they're the target. But the truth is, water is an equal opportunity resource.
Did you write that down in that little paper of yours?
I did.
So, and are there addresses for the homes?
No, I would never do that. It's the cricket.
Yeah, right.
We don't do that with the cricket.
Okay,
We don't do that.
but
We don't shame people with cricket.
okay, but that is. Will they know?
Isn't that an interesting? It's a challenge, and they're at the beginning of their task, and they've got another year to go before they make recommendations. But they're looking, in all seriousness. Tom Keogh, he's on the task force. He's a former select board member, and he said back in 2016 there was a drought, much worse than this drought that we're in right now. It was like 8 months long. It was really intense, and the Board of Selectmen put in restrictions. And he said that the highest volume users didn't amend their behavior at all. Like, he said a lot of them just refused to comply, and their attitude was, I have the money to pay for it, so I can do this. And so I think there's going to be a change in how things are viewed. I think it's a different time now than even it was in 2016, but it really shows you that, if you look at water and then you just follow the facts, the story becomes the story. It's very interesting. So there you go.
Well, can we add our favorite subject, or maybe not your favorite subject, mine, the 40B?
That's your favorite subject? Seriously?
No, it's not. No, it is actually. I do think it's interesting.
Okay.
No, let's say it is my favorite subject. Okay? Okay. I'm putting that down. All right, it is my favorite subject, and there was just a decision made by the town that the town has enough water to supply the 136 units. Is that right? In those peer review meetings?
I mean, I'm not covering this topic, but I can tell you that probably wasn't a decision.
No, it wasn't a decision.
I think it's a fact, right?
Right.
It's math. You say, okay, this is what the state allows us to have. It's this X number of millions of whatever, and this is how much is required for X, Y, Z. And you either have capacity or you don't have capacity for all sorts of things. And guess what? Cell signaling is coming in. That's going to be that should be one of your favorite topics, right? It's a big biomedical campus that's coming into Manchester, and it's going to have a massive impact in a positive way in town. And they've closed on 40 acres of land behind the Manchester Athletic Club, and they're going in there, and there's plenty of capacity according to that math for them, and they're coming after this.
I'm simply saying that we're having a water discussion, and that seemed to be a water discussion.
Yeah, well, can they tie off to the 6 residential houses?
Yeah, there you go. That's where I was going.
Yeah, they said there is enough capacity for people who want to hook up, who are private citizens, who have homes, who want to hook up. Chuck Dam said there's enough capacity. There's enough capacity for any planning for the limited commercial district, and that, yes, includes the 40B. It also includes cell signaling. And so therefore there's enough capacity because the whole system has been improved for the last 20 years and is working well.
We're going to be back here in a few years from now talking about 40B and where it's going to move next in Manchester, I feel.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's getting punted.
Well, I mean, I could tell you what's happening. What's happening is they're about to have their last hearing at the end of the month.
Yeah.
That's their last public hearing. Then they're going to continue, I think, doing hearings that are closed to the public in terms of participation. But you're going to be able to see them, I think. There's not going to be they're not going to be executive session, and they have up to, I think they said 40 days, which means they'll make a decision. And Greg Federspiel, who's our town planner, has said that very many times, he says this is kind of his go-to, which I think is because he gets asked so much, is he said, listen, I think the fair gamble is, regardless of the decision, if they say yes or no, it's still going to go to Boston, where it's going to get appealed to the housing office department, and it probably is a couple years out before that decision is made.
So, Erika, so I want to ask too, while we're situated here in Essex today, at Ripple on the Water, but the cricket and the Essex Echo.
Yeah.
Just a background on that and what it's like for you to be publisher and editor in covering two towns.
Yeah, it's well, the Cricket was founded in 1888, and the Essex Echo was a separate newspaper.
Yep.
It was founded for Essex around the same time. And then in 1923, I believe it is, the Cricket purchased the Essex Echo, and they started to cover it together. So the Essex Echo, if you looked at really old editions of it, they would cover Manchester topics, and then the Cricket would cover Essex topics, and then they merged. So I have the archive for the Essex Echo that goes through 1923, and then they merged, and then we cover it together. So in the last 20 years, the Essex part of the coverage has kind of softened a little bit. And as a matter of fact, my very first meeting when I took over the paper 3.5 years ago, my very first meeting was with Brendan Zabricki. Oh,
really?
Yeah, the town administrator, and he of Essex, in case anybody didn't know. And he's a very, very precise, polite man, right? He literally looked at me like, what are you doing here? So now we cover Essex, and the way I think about covering Essex is a great story for anybody. Like for Manchester, our readers in Rockport, like our readers in California, because there's so many great features here and stories and lifestyle pieces around here. So that's what I started with. I started with stories that really lifted up this area and were really cool because it is a distinct community within Cape Ann. I mean, there's nothing like it. And we found that some of our best comments came from people in Manchester because they loved it. They thought it was a really cool story. And then from that, we started to get into more municipal coverage. The saving grace, I have to say, is Brendan. He writes can I say kick-ass? I mean, he writes an unbelievable report for the Board of Selectmen. And if you could go to the website and get it, it's really long and really hard to wade through, but we have that as almost a backdrop as well. So we have that, we have municipal coverage, we have features, and then we have Brendan in the sort of, as that foundation for what's going on at Town Hall on Martin Street. It's great.
Right.
Is there anything you wish you could cover better, Erika?
Oh God. There's like such a long list, it's not even funny. I literally live by that list. That's the source of my inadequacy. Is all the things I wish I could be doing, but I can't be doing, or where I wish I could be doing better. I think that I'd love to do a much better job of covering sort of what I call out and about coverage, things that are happening out and that's a column that ran in the Manchester Cricket since the 1920s. It's called Out and About on Cape Ann.
Yeah.
And it used to be very charming and very society forward, We make it more lifestyle because there's so many awesome things going on. I wish I could do more. I wish I could do more with food and culture and heritage of food because I think people really are interested in that. I wish I could do more with history. I wish I could do more with nature. And then, yes, of course, I wish I could do more with Town Hall at Essex. I wish I could because they're going back to in-person meetings. It's harder to cover them when they're not on Zoom. But I'll get there.
Yeah, well, look, small newspapers, right? I mean, the circulation is less than 6,000 or so. Essex population is what, 3,500?
Yep,
if
exactly,
that, right?
Yep.
Manchester 6,000 or so.
Exactly.
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark.
Not quite 6,000.
But they're also it covers a lot of the area size.
Yep.
For Essex especially is larger than you think.
I'm going to tell you like a secret of somebody who runs a newspaper, and I just know this. And it's the thing that probably keeps me awake at night about your local newspapers more than anything else. You can be successful being a local newspaper. I've proven it. We've grown tremendously. But you have to invest in local content. It's like a really simple formula. It's hilarious. You literally have to focus on local. If you focus on local content and you give trustworthy, interesting, important coverage of what's going on locally. A, you'll have plenty of stuff to cover, number one. But number two, you can't get it anywhere else, and people really want it. They're thirsty for it. Here's the problem. The problem is that the entire media industry is based on scale with the advent of social media. So you'll have 40 million followers on your YouTube channel. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen if you're trying to cover what is happening here really, really well. That's the biggest problem that local newspapers have. And thank God we have a supportive readership. We have a supportive area for you guys, for us.
Yeah, well, we maybe live in parallel lives, Erika, you know?
Well, I think working together is the only solution. It really is. And I think people appreciate it as well. I mean, I think they do.
No, they do, for sure. We have authenticity, that a genuine love for a local. It's there.
Pooling each other's information is actually a really important part of it. You can't be greedy and miserly about your information. You should work with others and say, hey, if you want to cover this in the Gloucester Times, take it.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, the content's meant to be shared. Like, good to go out there. Like, let's collaborate and share.
I get paid.
Well, I get exactly.
I get back to that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the funniest things I love, occasionally I get this where people are in the old kind of way of thinking, and they'll call me up and they'll say, yeah, well, you know, I'd give this to you, but what about the Gloucester Times? And da-da-da. Like, they act like we're in competition, and they're always a little surprised.
I get that all the time about
stuff. Hey, no, it's all good. You go to the Gloucester Times.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I love the Gloucester Times.
Yeah, go. You'll figure it out.
In it together.
Are you working on anything in particular, or anything big coming up?
No, but I think if I wanted to call attention to something that's light and fluffy, but actually absolutely awesome, is in the paper this week, besides like incredible pictures for the Crocs.
You always have nice pictures.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, Olivia Turner, Ollie
Oh,
Turner.
we love Ollie.
Your old intern, my old intern, my current intern. She just did an incredible piece on, I'm not going to show it, but I will show it, but not because I think you can see it. It's the dig into ice cream around Cape Ann.
Wait a
She picked
second.
out the best
She
ice
just
cream
did sandwiches a couple of weeks.
I gave her a
she's
credit
got a tough
card.
day.
Who's having a better summer than Ollie Turner?
And an ice cream cone stand. And she went to 5 different places all over Cape Ann. And instead of like getting into this competitive, like that's the best, you know what I mean? Like, which I can't stand.
Right.
What she did is she went to everyone and said, give me your most popular.
Yeah.
And then she just did a piece on the most popular. And it's really awesome.
I
What's
think
the most popular? Holy cow!
The ice cream sandwich. It's
That's
it's a
pretty good.
really premium ice cream sandwich. It's like $8, which people might think is expensive. Apparently, I get this from Ollie. It's off the hook. Amazing.
It's really good. Do you know the most popular flavor at Captain Dusty's in Manchester?
I don't.
Oh God.
I know it's cinnamon. It's churros.
It's
Holy cow, isn't it?
vanilla.
It's vanilla.
The most popular Manchester flavor is vanilla. No pun intended.
We're back to where we
Back
started.
to the water. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is the truth, though. So, Erika, it's always awesome catching up with
I
you.
love you guys.
And great work with the cricket. I get the cricket every week. Shouldn't you, folks? So, all right, thanks. And we'll catch up with you this time next week, right?
Thank you. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry it won't be in person. You should do this more often. I mean,
Oh, my God.
You guys are doing an amazing job.
Yeah, the three of us on the ducks. And the Essex River. It's beautiful.
They're gone.
Yeah.
They're napping.
All right, well, that puts a bow on it. Thank you, Erika, once again. That was fun, huh, Heather?
It was great. I
Yeah,
love
it's
it
good to
out
get back out here and
Yeah.
get in the groove again.
Really good.
Yeah, we want to thank all of our guests today. Of course, Tom and Michelle Riordan, Ripple on the Water. Awesome stuff here, too. The food looks beautiful. We're going to sit down and have lunch now if you want to come and join us, folks. Out there, also Katie Montgomery of the Essex Historical Society and Shipbuilding Museum. Vinnie Caravella of the Scrapbook, all prints and maps. He's right behind the old White Elephant shop. Daisy Nell of the Gloucester Schooner Festival, and Erika Brown, of course, of the Cricket. We got to thank our crew, right? On camera, Mike Dennis, floor manager, Alana Horn. Production manager is Tyler Hinson, technical director. Hinson. Right?
Heather was right.
Horenson?
Horenson.
This is how it's spelled, folks. Hynynyszyn. Our production manager, Tyler, technical director, Matt McMakin, digital director, Matt Moore, our operations coordinator, Emily Games, and our executive director, Eric Archer. Heather, this was fun.
It's so good.
Looking forward to the next show. We don't know when that is, but we'll keep you posted on that.
Maybe around Schoonerfest.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, in the meantime, come on down to 74 Main Street in downtown Essex for Ripple on the Water and a beautiful view of the Essex River. And we will see you next time on Cape Ann Today.